Mhm.
I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, you're like, it's not that long. I'm like, okay. So I'm like trying to read, well, try to digest quickly. I
Uh,
feel like, see, when I read, I kind of skim first. I usually get the gist of it, if that makes sense, and then I go back again if I need to.
well, it's 11
Really
pages,
just know.
including the title page.
It's good. I agree. If I was against it, I think I would agree. I mean, I would go with what you were arguing with.
I don't see how it can be disputed,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean, I truly don't believe it can be disputed based on the
Yeah, it was.
that
It's
I.
like the same thing I had. All right, so I gotta go to bed now. Night.
Well,
No,
good night. So what were the rejects in here?
I guess.
What paper is this that she's talking about?
Oh, it's a paper that I wrote back in 2001 about the death penalty. Um, Here, if you wanna read it, you can. We were talking about writing essays, and I was like, yeah, I love writing research essays, but I can't write I can't write narratives or personal essays, but I love a good research paper.
I mean, I hate being told you have to write this research paper.
Well, this was a philosophy class, and I was pretty interested. I don't know. Yeah, I don't like being.
I mean,
When I have to write a paper, when I'm told I have to write a paper, I use like tons of quotes and I cite tons of sources to make it longer. But when I'm interested in the paper, I just write it straight from my head. And
well, it depends. I'm pretty much never interested if I have to write it for a class, but like in my abnormal psychology class, for example,
Mhm.
I am actually interested in psychology, and it just happened to be like we had to pick like a character from a movie that we watched or a show that we watched, and like basically diagnose them.
That'd be fun.
And I had just happened to have watched a movie called The Voices with Ryan Reynolds.
I never heard of that one.
It's fucking hilarious. And I was like, oh wow, this paper could not be more easy to write given these things. So I did the same thing I always do, where I procrastinate like crazy and like write the whole paper in like the last 2 days.
I used to wait till the last night. When I was in high school, I would have to do outlines and I'd have to do note cards because they were required from me. But when I was in university, I would usually wait until the last 2 days. Day and a half.
Dude, when I was in high school, I would just skip entire long-term assignments because I was like, well, I'll still get a 90 if I just skip this project, and I don't want to do it. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
this one paper, I did it, I turned it in, and then after class was like finished, she emailed me and she was like, this is the best fucking paper I've ever read.
And that made you feel amazing, didn't it?
I was like, yeah, I was like, wow, I didn't even try that hard.
I know.
But
Same thing with me.
a lot of the time, though, I'll get like a B or a C on it because I just don't give a fuck, and I'm just glad that I finished it.
And yeah. When I don't give a fuck about a paper, I use tons of quotes, long ass quotes, lots of works cited, and I'll usually get like a low B. But if I'm interested in a paper, I use very few sources, and I write it straight from my mind. And it's intellectually like stimulating to me. I love language too, and I love punctuation. Punctuation is one of my favorite
I mean,
things to toy around with.
I like language, but I'm not really big into punctuation or grammar. I don't know. I wish I was more interested in writing for pleasure, but I'm not.
Yeah,
because everyone always seems to think I'm a good writer.
you probably are. I mean, INTPs. Not to get all MBTI because I hate it when we start doing this, but
No, we are stereotypically good writers.
yeah.
Um,
When I write a paper, I can take more time to organize my thoughts properly, because when I speak, I go off on tangents to
Right.
justify my original concept, and then I have to justify the tangential concept that I go off on to justify my original concept, and I have to justify that one, and it just gets really boring for people that are listening, and I realize it when it's happening, and I don't really fucking give a fuck. Because I have to know that someone fully understands what I've said.
no, I get that.
Because the idea, I hate it when people. I don't like the idea of someone not understanding what I'm telling them. So I have to like explain like sub concepts.
Right, but they're also not interested in understanding.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Not really. That's something that'll get me into angry FE mode.
But yeah, that's why I'm kind of glad that texting became a big thing, because texting is way easier than actually talking on the phone.
But I hate it when I haven't proofread a text and I send it and it's got an error in it. I have to fix it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I get really excited and I press enter too fast and I'm like, oh fuck.
I've gotten a little bit more discerning about which ones I bother to correct. Because usually people can tell what you meant.
Yeah, but I don't want. The idea that I don't know. I'm kind of like.
But people think you're a bad speller.
I don't like it when I don't want someone to think that I like grammar. Like I'm really, 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 really stringent on myself when it comes to grammar.
I can't be a grammar Nazi anymore. It's just too much work.
I grammar Nazi myself all the time. Like earlier today, I was talking to my grandmother, and I said whom instead of who, and I had to fix it because there was a verb that came after it, and I was like, fuck. I meant to say who, not whom.
I don't even remember the difference between those two words.
Well, whom is generally when there's a preposition before it, like to whom, or when you're talking about someone, you say whom. When someone is doing an action, you say who.
This seems like one of those cases where there's no seriously functional difference, and there's not much point in worrying about it, because people will still understand what you're saying, and that's why I haven't bothered to actually learn how to use whom.
Well, whom is a great word. It's like to whom I was speaking, but who does that? You know, if
right, but you could say to who I was speaking, and it would sound perfectly fine.
If the person is doing an action, you use who. If you're talking about somebody, you say whom.
I mean, it's good to know, I guess.
But most people don't. I'd say that probably about.
It's fallen out of use.
It has. I'd say probably about 64% of the population doesn't understand whom and who.
Right.
And I had to go and say 64. I'm big on percentages too.
Well, I like coming up with very specific percentages just because it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that I could know that.
I know.
But
we sound like we do.
Well, no, I love pretending like I know what I'm talking about just for fun. Generally, and then people will be like, "Oh, well, how do you know that?" And then I'll get into it. I'll be like, "Well, let's see how far I can go with this until you realize that I'm bullshitting you."
Yeah. I just bought a new book. It's some modern philosopher, Harry Frankfurt, on bullshit.
Bullshit is an art.
The
It is
opening
art
line,
form.
it's pretty funny. It says, one of the most salient features of our culture is that there's so much bullshit. Everyone knows this. Each of us contributes his share, but we tend to take the situation for granted. Most people are rather confident of their ability to recognize bullshit and to avoid being taken in by it. So the phenomenon has not aroused much deliberate concern nor attracted much sustained inquiry. In consequence, we have no clear understanding what bullshit is, why there is so much of it, or what functions it serves, and we lack conscientiously developed appreciation of what it means to us. In other words, we have no theory. I propose to begin the development of a theoretical understanding of bullshit. That's as far as I've gotten.
A theoretical understanding of bullshit. That sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Maybe that was his point.
I like his angle. Well, yeah, tell me how that book goes.
Yeah, it's really short. It's only 67 pages. That alone is bullshit. No, but this paper I wrote on capital punishment. It is.
So I assume you're arguing against the death penalty, right?
You should read it. It's pretty damn good.
I mean, I already know that you can't justify the death penalty.
Well, it was all right. It was my final paper in my Phi 220 class, and I had to argue with my teacher or my professor in order to get him to allow me to do this subject, because I had to involve the final paper had to involve two ethical theories, and well, you can just read the title and that'll just basically lay it out for you. But I cite like statistics involving the amount of people who have been put to death who were innocent, and the two theories that the ethical theories that I discussed were Kantian and divine command. And
well, yeah, you had to look at it through a philosophical lens in order to be allowed to write it. Basically,
and both of those ethical theories don't allow for mitigating circumstances. Divine command, obviously, because it's brought down by a deity, and you have to follow it if you're that way. And Kantian, if something applies to one, it must apply to everyone. And basically, my argument was that both of those theories didn't allow for mitigating circumstances or human error. And I thought the champagne was going to make me feel good, but it's actually giving me a headache.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish drinking it, though.
Man,
I have to pee, but I don't want to get up.
To continue to be drug tested for the next 2 months.
Would you get in trouble for something? Or
Yeah,
psychiatry?
they got that DWI a while back, and
Ooh. Yeah, I've never been in trouble. Well, I've been in trouble with the law because I was in jail for 2.5 weeks once because I got charged with assault and battery on an officer. I didn't assault the officer. I was handcuffed, and
you told me this story.
Yeah, it was bullshit. It was fucking bullshit. they drop me on my head, and ever since then I've had trouble recalling like ordinary nouns.
Nope, I took my extended release Xanax before I went to work, and then I ended up drinking later. And then before I knew it, I was already unconscious. And
Xanax makes me say mean things to people, and then I fall asleep, and then I've forgotten that I've done.
Well,
Xanax is not well for me.
When you mix it with alcohol, it can make you completely dissociate.
That reminds me.
And basically disappear from your head for the next 10 hours. I was not aware of that.
That reminds me, I have 2 Valiums in my pocket.
Like, I've heard of blackouts happening with that mixture, but like, I underestimated just how insane that can be.
Xanax is a very atypical benzo.
Yeah, apparently.
Alprazolam. These 2 Valiums. Valiums I can handle.
So this is what I get.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry you have to do drug tests.
Well, the drug tests aren't as bad as all the fucking money that I have to pay.
Ugh.
I just have to pay $225 for the privilege of taking a drinking driver class that I have to take.
Oh, man. That's what I would call bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'll tell you, it was scary being in jail. I wanted to cry the whole time, but I didn't want to show that I was weak.
Well, I haven't been in jail.
Yeah, I was very rude to the magistrate the night that I was arrested. I don't remember very much of it, but I was on a lot of Vicodin, and I'd done like 4 Irish car bombs at the bar, and I was very mouthy to the.
You told this whole story once.
Yeah, it was rough, man. It was fucked up. I was scared. They called me all the black people. They called me Harry Potter because I was wearing glasses and I had brown hair and it was straight at the time. Well, my hair is straight, but it was. And I didn't understand if they were fucking with me or if they were trying to be mean or if they were like trying to joke around. And I actually asked them, I was like, "Are you fucking with me or are you joking around?" And they said, and one of them said, "God damn it, Jay," because my name's Josh. They were like, "God damn it, Jay, why you gotta be so serious?"
Yeah, they were just digging around. It's like whatever.
Yeah, but I felt like, yeah. I don't know.
You just gotta own that shit. Like, who cares if they're trying to make fun of you? You're all in fucking prison.
Yeah, they didn't even the magistrate didn't even grant me bail because I was acting so fucking nuts. He said I had to get a psychological evaluation. Luckily, and then the public defender came in, saw me for like fucking 5 minutes. Is like, "Yeah, you're going to jail for 2 years. You assaulted a cop." I was like, what? And so my grandmother got me like a good attorney, and he got me out like fucking that night. On a Saturday, he came in and he talked to the magistrate and said, "I'll stipulate that Josh is mentally capable of standing trial if you grant him bond." And then I got out that night. It was Easter night. It was weird because it snowed. It was really weird. It was April.
It happens.
You're not going outside, all right? You're not. Because you're just going to try to come right back in, okay? Yelling at me. So I'm going to take these 2 Valiums. What's your day like?
let's see. I had to go to to a probation officer to hand her some documents. I mean, I'm not actually on probation, but I still have to deal with the probation officer to facilitate.
You're on
certain aspects.
non-supervised probation, basically.
Yeah, right. I don't know, but
Yeah, I got actually I got a 1 year suspended sentence for what I did, and 2 years of unsupervised probation.
well, no, I don't even have unsupervised probation. But the thing is that the probation office handles things related to this ignition interlock device that I have to get in my car. So,
Oh my gosh, I knew a girl that had one of those. I had a roommate at the time, Greg, and he would blow into the breathalyzer to turn her car on for her.
well, anyway, then I also had to go to the place where I'm going to my substance abuse counseling and pee in a cup. And then I went to the pharmacy, and then I got lunch, and then my mom picked me up and took me to work.
Where do you work? What do you do?
It's just data entry.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Nah, I hate my job. I've had it for 5 years now. I can't believe I've been there for 5 fucking years.
I don't think I've ever had a job.
Yeah. And I'm just too lazy and depressed to bother getting another job.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the electrical job that I was supposed to get this summer.
Well, like an electrician apprentice.
And yeah, I'm training to be an electrician, and I thought I would get like a home wiring job over the summer because they're looking to hire people that kind of know what they're doing and only pay them like $20 an hour or something like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that would still be a lot better than what I have now, and I'd be getting experience. But he didn't email me back.
The toughest job I ever had was actually working for Marriott. I was the front desk supervisor, which was easy.
Yeah, the job where you went nuts, right?
Yeah, and that was during the hurricane. But the accounts receivable part was really rough because I was responsible for like about $200,000 worth of incoming, or I'd have to invoice about $200,000 a month and take in $200,000 a month approximately of incoming checks and deposit them. And I was only like 22 at the time. I can't believe they trusted me with that shit. And I did payroll. That was easy though. All I had to do was take the time cards and just punch the shit into the computer. But the accounts receivable part was difficult because I was not a good collector, because all of the accounts payable people that I dealt with were like in their 40s, late 30s, late 40s, and they would just like walk all over me because I was like 21, 22, and so I had like a bunch of accounts in like over 90 days. But I could suspend their privilege of booking rooms for their employees. That was my one tool that I could use. Other than that, let's see, what else have I done? My first job was working at a laser tag arena when I was like 15. And I became a shift manager when I was 17. And then I started selling cell phones. And I remember one time I was actually allowed to hire and fire people. And like I had this like 40-some-year-old guy working under me, and that felt really weird to me. Being like, I was like, this was like 2000, like 2000. So I was like 20. That was really weird. That was really weird. I had to fire this girl for leaving her post, and two phones got stolen, and my regional manager wouldn't fire her. I had to fire her, and I didn't really want to because I don't know. It made me feel it made me feel really uncomfortable to fire someone.
Well, whatever. I only had really shitty jobs that didn't last long, and I hated them. And now this one is killing my soul, but I can't leave.
I understand. Well, the job I have now is fucking taking care of my brother. My grandmother pays me to do that.
It's funny. I practically dared them to fire me because I'd show up late constantly. I'd show up stoned constantly. They will not get rid of me because I'm still better than most of the dumb pieces of shit they have in there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same thing. Same way with me. I would always be fucked up at work, and I was always late. I don't think I showed up on time. There was this one place I worked at called Atlantic Telecom, and I was brought on as the assistant manager, and then the manager got fired, and I was promoted to store manager, and we had this huge back room, and we were a very slow store, so I would have all my buddies up there, and we just hang out and smoke pot in the back room, and I'd put the sign up on the door that says like, you know, like little clock thing, be back in like, you know, like at this time or whatever, and whenever I would hear like the someone knocking at the door, I was like, oh, what the fuck? Everybody be quiet. And the whole place had to smell like pot. People had to know.
INTPs are always late. Whatever.
Yeah, I would show. Also, I had a master key to all the stores. I was also the floater whenever someone was unable to work at one of the other stores, and I would sleep in the store sometimes because of, like, if I'd be driving drunk or driving fucked up. There was like a store always near where I was, and one time I fell asleep. I went to one of the stores, because I also had the master code for the alarm systems. I was the only person that had that, and I don't know why the fuck people trusted me so much. I guess because I was the biggest seller or whatever. But anyway, this woman Teresa worked there, and she came in, and I was asleep in the back room, and she fucking, oh my god, she screamed so loud when she was not expecting someone to be sleeping on the floor when she came in, and yeah, I scared her to death.
Oh.
I gotta go piss. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go outside, smoke a cigarette, and piss outside because I like pissing.
There's room in room 1 now.
Huh?
So there's room in room 1 now.
Oh yeah. All right.
is missing. Color in your eyes is something I've been wishing. With the burden on my back, holding on to what we had. So I'm dancing in an empty room.
Bob.
And out of memory, your touch became so distant. The sun will rise again, with dawn comes forgiveness. Lift the burden off my back, letting go of what we had. So now I'm dancing in an empty room. So now I'm dancing in an empty room.